Hello, this is Yogesh 7000 again, and I'm back on my series on stories from the Puranas. And today we'll be discussing about the story which is in continuation to the last video, where we discussed about a story how the powerful Bhishma, who was Satyavati's son, forcibly kidnapped the three daughters of Kasiraj, who had arranged a Swamvara or a marriage ceremony for his three daughters, and he forcibly took the three daughters to his own capital to get him married to his stepbrother Vichitravirya, because Vichitravirya was not invited for the Swamvara or the marriage ceremony where brides are allowed to choose their bridegroom. So he went and he forcibly took the three daughters, Amba, Ambika, and Ambalika, and technically it was a kidnap. So if you want to go in detail about that story, please refer to my earlier video. So today we'll be discussing what was the consequence of this kidnap. What happened to these three princesses who were kidnapped by Bhishma and were forcibly taken to Hastinapur to get them married to Bhishma's stepbrother Vichitravirya. So once Bhishma reached Hastinapur with these three beautiful women, a day was fixed and a preparation was made so that Vichitravirya, Bhishma's stepbrother, could marry these three princesses. And at that time, the eldest daughter, Amba, told Bhishma that you're a very illustrious person, very brave, very powerful, and also you are a knower of dharma, which is the right way to live. And in the Swamvara ceremony, she said, I mentally selected the king of Salva called Salva Raja, and she said I mentally selected him as my husband, and he also looked at me with a very loving heart. So since mentally I chose him and mentally Salva Raja chose me, I'm already married. And to this, Bhishma, who was a knower of dharma, and he was supposed to be a very fair person, although of course this kidnap was not a very fair thing which he did, he agreed, and he told Amba, the eldest daughter, that okay, you can do whatever you want and you can go wherever you like. So Bhishma released the eldest daughter, Amba, and Amba, the beautiful daughter of Kasiraj, went to the house or the palace of King of Salva, Salvaraj, and told him that I know I mentally selected you in the Swamvara and you also did. So according to dharma, you're my husband and I'm your wife. So therefore I've come to you. Please marry me with the proper rituals and ceremony. I know I was kidnapped, but I'm back because I told Bhishma that this is what had happened. To which Salva Raja replied that, look, you are very beautiful, but when Bhishma took you away forcibly from the Swamvara ceremony at Kashi, I cannot marry you now. Why? Because he touched you, and according to the scriptures and according to what intelligent people believe in, that a woman who has been touched by another man should not be accepted as a wife. And to this, Amba started crying and she wept bitterly and requested him to accept him. However, Salva Raja, king of Salva, did not agree, and he said, I'm sorry, I cannot accept you as my wife. And Amba then had nowhere else to go. She could not go back to Kashi, her father's house. She could not go back to Bhishma, her kidnapper, and she could not stay here in Salva with Salvaraj. So she had no other way out, so she went and she went to a solitary place, a forest, and and started to meditate. And this, of course, became a foundation of, later on we'll discuss about the story how this became a foundation to the killing of Bhishma, because Ambika meditated and she was reborn as Shikhandi, and then she was responsible for Bhishma's death, but we're not discussing that story. So this was how, at this point, Amba's life came to a conclusion. Not life, but kind of her material life came to a conclusion, because she finally retired to the forest in a secluded place, a solitary place, and began to practice austerities and meditation and tapasya. Now the other two daughters of Kasiraj, which were Ambika and Ambalika, became the wives of King Vichitravirya, because they agreed to the marriage. And Vichitravirya began to enjoy his marital life with them, and that continued for 9 years. And ultimately, after 9 years, Vichitravirya fell into the jaws of death, because he was too consumed in the pleasures of marriage, and he ultimately died. And then when the news of her son went to Satyavati, she became extremely sad and upset. And she requested Bhishma, now both my sons are gone, and how will we have a lineage to this great family where we are great kings, and we need to have a lineage to rule the kingdom. So why don't you marry these two sisters who were Vichitravirya's wives? To which Bhishma reminded her mother, her stepmother actually, that he already made a promise. He made two promises to his father: one, that he will never be a king, or he'll never inherit the kingdom for himself, and the second was that he will never marry. So I cannot break my promise, which I made before my father. So Satyavati didn't know what to do, and she said, well, don't worry, what we'll do is we will get a Brahmin of a good family, and we will get that Brahmin married with Vichitravirya's wives, so there won't be any problem. However, Satyavati remembered her own son, which she had from her previous marriage, which was Gandharva Vivah, actually, before she married the king, Shantanu. And of course we know that his name was Vyasa, Veda Vyasa, who is the compiler of the 18 Mahapuranas and also the compiler of Mahabharata. So she remembered her own son, her first son, from her first Gandharva Vivah, or her Gandharva marriage rather. And he was a great ascetic. And as soon as she remembered, because of telepathy during those days and ages, he came in front of Satyavati, and he asked Satyavati, his mother, as to why she had remembered him. And the mother Satyavati then said that she wants Vedavyasa to have children with the two wives of Vichitravirya, so that there could be a lineage, and the family lineage can be continued. To which Vedavyasa thought for a while, but he thought that it's the mother's wish, so he has to fulfill the mother's wish. So he agreed to have children from the two wives of the dead king Vichitravirya, and he first went to Ambika, and he had a child from the princess Ambika. However, when he was living and when he was he met with Ambika. Ambika was very, very scared. She closed her eyes at the time of their union, and the result was a blind son was born to them. And when Satyavati, the mother, saw the blind son, she was very upset. So he told her son Vyasa to go to the other wife, Ambalika, and have a child through Ambalika. And Ambalika was also very scared at when she had a union with Vyasa, and as a result of which she didn't close her eyes just like Ambika did, but Ambalika was also very scared. She became so scared that she became pale because of scare, and that was because of the power of the great Vedavyasa, the power of his penance and the power of his tapasya. They couldn't kind of handle, these princesses could not handle his spiritual power. So the first when he went to Ambika, she closed her eyes because of fear, and a blind son was born. And then when this time he went to Ambalika, the other princess, the other sister, she became scared as well, but she didn't close her eyes, but she became so scared that she became pale, and the result was a son was born of a very pale color. And Satyavati thought that maybe this son is also not fit to rule a kingdom. He is not that powerful because he's pale. So Satyavati requested her son Vedavyasa to go to Ambika once again and have a union and have another child. And this time Ambalika was not ready for it. And Ambalika, instead of going to Vedavyasa herself, she sent her maidservant, and with the union, another son was born. So this way, 3 sons were born to the family, and the first son, who was blind, his name was Dhritarashtra, who is a main character of the great epic Mahabharata. The second son, who was pale, his name was Pandu, who was also a great character of the epic Mahabharata. And of course, this epic was also written by Vedavyasa himself, along with the 18 Mahapuranas. And the third son, who was actually not Ambalika's son, but he was born out of the union between Vedavyasa and the maidservant, or the maid of Ambalika. His name was Vidur, who was extremely knowledgeable, and he knew dharma and the scriptures, and he's known for his knowledge. So this is how these 3 sons were born after the 3 princesses were kidnapped, and after Amba, who was the elder princess, retired into the woods, into the forest to meditate, and these 2 princesses were married to Vichitravirya, could not produce any son through Vichitravirya, but ultimately produced 3 sons. Actually produced 2 sons. These 2 sisters produced 2 sons. One was Dhritarashtra and the other was Pandu, and then the third son was produced out of the union between Vedavyasa and the maid of Ambalika. So hopefully you enjoyed this video. This is coming directly from the Puranas, and of course this is a part of Mahabharata as well. So I will request you to have firm faith and belief in it, and in the meanwhile I will recommend subscribe to my channel and check out my website. There is a link below, and I will see you with the continuation of stories from the Puranas in my next video very soon. Goodbye.